I just uncovered an eBay glitch that's going to cause problems for a lot of sellers. So I'm going to talk to you about that on the other side. So without any further ado, let's go. Welcome back to the channel. This is John from Flippin' Ain't Easy, and I want to tell you about a glitch that I just uncovered this morning with eBay and confirmed it with a rep from the eBay team. And they were talking about a USA rep from a specialized department that confirmed this with me, and it has to do with eBay authentication, more specifically selling shoes, certain shoes. So as you guys know, there's certain brands that if you sell them, and certain models of these brands, we're talking Jordan, Nike, Adidas, maybe some New Balance. In my case, the pair of shoes I'm selling, some Christian Louis Vuittons that I sold over the weekend. Well, there's a problem. The problem has to do with the change that eBay made. They announced back in September. It started to be implemented back in October, and it wasn't fully implemented until just a few days ago, back on the 8th of November. And the problem is that the free labels that eBay has promised sort of took a little bit of time from the 10th of October, when they first started rolling it out to a very few, to the 8th of November, when it was fully implemented for all sellers like myself. And this is a problem, and I'll tell you why it's a problem. If you have a listing that was recently listed prior to the 8th of November, okay, until that item relists, so it renews to a new 30 days, you're going to have a problem if it sells between now and that time. In my case, I sold a pair of Christian Louis Vuittons over the weekend, actually on Thursday. The prior Sunday, I had listed them on auction, and they just happened to sell with a buy it now. And all that's good and fine and dandy. However, in my case, I had listed it prior to being set up for the program, if that makes sense. So my list date was, I think, like the 3rd or 4th of November. And the whole time, I think I even sold the shoes on the 8th, which is the day that my account was set up to allow for the free shipping FedEx label that eBay charges the buyer. Of course, the seller doesn't pay for that. But because the item was listed before that was set up, before my account was set up, there's a glitch. So what happens is the item, my shoes, and I'll show you that here in a second, but essentially my shoes are showing that I still have to pay for the label, and it did charge the buyer for the actual cost of the label per my shipping policy. Now the item is still being shipped to the authentication center, which is great. However, I'm going to show you here in another video, so I'm going to have two videos clips I'm going to show you how that is now a problem for a different pair of shoes, pair of Nikes, that aren't going to the authentication center because the shoes were listed before the 8th of November. And this is where all the problems are coming from. So as you can see, the eBay note says items covered by authenticity guarantee, and I'll blow that up for you so you can see a little bit better. Are shipped to authenticator who inspects the item and completes a delivery to the buyer. So when I go in, I'm getting a purchase shipping label. Now you shouldn't get that now. And I'm going to talk about why I'm getting this instead of something that shows free label for FedEx. And there's nothing in the drop down that shows anything to print free label. So if I go here, what I'm going to have to do in this case is I'm going to end up shipping this to via UPS ground, which is my choice. Normally, you're going to get a free FedEx label, that is, and it's going to be free for you as a seller. The buyer has to pay $14.95. So buyer already paid me for this label, so I'm going to purchase this shipping label. Okay, And then I'm going to go ahead and run the label and print it out. Print it. Now I want to show you guys something else here. I did sell another pair of shoes. And of course you see I have 4 items that are waiting for payment. Well, I sold these on the 11th of November. Let's see if I can make it a little larger for you to see here. 11th of November is when I sold these shoes. And this person is waiting, I guess, for an invoice. But see, here's the weird thing. When I click on send invoice, it shows their address, which you're not seeing here, but it shows the amount that they agreed to. If I scroll down, it'll show that I need to select the shipping service. Okay. Now again, the buyer is supposed to pay $14.95 for a label to eBay. Okay. And then as sellers, we just simply download the FedEx label. But it's not giving that option. In fact, I spoke to a rep at eBay and they looked at this and they didn't even understand why this was happening. On their end, they saw that the buyer was supposed to pay $45. They didn't even see the tax that's down here. So she said to go in and cancel it. I said, well, there's like a day left. I mean, it's possible the buyer's waiting for communication from me about what he has to pay for shipping, which I'm going to send now. So I'm going to do UPS ground. Since I'm getting the option, I'd rather use UPS ground if I'm being honest with you. Now, I already looked this up. It's $13.97 is the actual shipping cost through Pirate Ship. Okay. And I'm assuming that it's going to be the same price. So that's the price I'm going to pass on to the buyer. And I'm going to end up sending them an invoice. I'm going to go in here and say, here is the invoice for the LeBron shoes you agreed to purchase. Please note, due to an update with eBay recently, this transaction is not going to be shipped to the authentication center at eBay and will be shipped directly to you. Please let me know if this is okay. Otherwise, if I don't hear back from you with your payment, then we will cancel the order tomorrow. So they have one more day. So that's all I'm going to give them. And then thank you. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to send the invoice. Now I want you to see something. Okay, so we look at the listing here. This is the listing. Okay. And shows I sold these shoes. Of course, they all automatically upload the little video as the second listing photo in your listing. You'll see also at the top, it'll say authenticity guarantee, right? And then there's a little blurb here on the right. Now I'm looking at the computer. I don't know what it looks like on the app. I haven't bothered to do that. And this tells the buyer that these shoes are going to go out by the authentication center. So if they're hoping to get an authenticated pair of shoes, well, in this case, as you guys saw, it ain't going to happen because it's not going to be shipped out to the authentication center. So I spoke to the rep and they told me that on the 8th of November, every seller was set up with being on the authentication process with the FedEx label. Now, I guess it wasn't the case. They had announced it earlier in October that this is going to be the process. And some people had called up like on the 10th of October. They migrated only a handful of accounts at that time. And then the rest were migrated on the 8th of November. And I'm going to tell you how that affects you guys here in a minute. But how do you know, if you're looking at your listing, how do you know if you're set up to get the FedEx label? The way you do this is go to Sell Similar. I do a right click and then open click a new tab like that. and then I'll go to the, now I have no intention on launching this listing. I just want you to see what we're looking for. If you scroll down to where your shipping is, okay, you see how it says items eligible for authenticity guarantee may override your domestic shipping policy. So I have my calculated UPS shipping policy in here, the weight of the box and the dimensions, and then it says this item is eligible for authenticity guarantee. This includes verification by an authenticator before it's delivered to your buyer. And then you'll see a FedEx logo. It says eBay shipping via FedEx, free label provided to you. That's going to tell you if that pair of shoes is going to be eligible for the eBay shoe authentication process. And there's many of you guys right now that have shoes that you've had listed for over a month or more. Maybe even, in this case, I listed these 2 weeks ago. You're going to have these shoes that are listed, and what's going to happen is the system's going to have you in sort of limbo. And you're going to have to go through and relist each one of your shoes to avoid the problem that I'm dealing with here. And as you guys see, I sent the invoice to the buyer, but I had to tell them that the way that, because I'm in limbo, it's going to be shipped to them and not the authenticator. And according to the rep, there's a lot of people who are going to get upset when they don't get that authentication, and they get the shoe without it being authenticated. So if it's important to you to have a hassle-free transaction, you're going to want to get your shoes authenticated and make sure that that happens. So take your old listings, end them, and basically sell similar and just start them from scratch. That's the best advice I can give you on that. So if you're selling a pair of shoes on eBay and it is labeled as eBay authentication, okay, with that authentication guarantee, and you've listed it before the 8th of November, you are going to need to relist the item. And in my case, I would recommend using the sell similar function. So you go in, find the item, hit the drop-down menu, right-click on sell similar, and then go down and end item. Okay, that way you're not double listing anything. You go find the sell similar tab. And this is all on the PC, by the way. And select that. Now, you will find that if you scroll down to your shipping, you should see a FedEx logo. That means you are set up for the free label. Okay, whereas before I wasn't seeing that. I'm not sure if you were, but in my case, I wasn't seeing it. I'm seeing it now. And so when you sell that item, it'll flow just the way it's supposed to be. Once the item's sold, you'll be able to download the free label. And it's a FedEx label, by the way, which may cause problems. I hate FedEx. I've got to figure out how to navigate that because FedEx and me don't get along, but we'll work that out. So in your case, if you have shoes that are set up already, listed with the earmark of eBay authentication, got to get those things relisted. Otherwise, you're going to run into a similar glitch that I did. And while it's not the end of the world, it's something you can navigate. It's going to cause some confusion. And in the second case that I showed you, you might have an upset customer if you ship that item directly to them and it's not involved in the eBay authentication process as advertised in your listing. So save yourself the headache. You know, hopefully I've given you some information to work with, but go in, look at your listed items, find the ones that are authenticated or are earmarked for authentication, and just take a few minutes and relist, or in my case, what I like to do is sell similar. So guys, I want to know what you think about this topic. Comment down below if you found this information useful. You know what? If you sell things, everything like I do, chances are maybe you don't have shoes up right now, but you might run into a pair that, you know, it's too good of a deal to pass up. You get them home, and guess what? eBay wants you to authenticate these things. It's a good idea just to be aware of what's going on to other sellers, because, you know, what happens with eBay, sometimes there's a glitch here and something else might glitch in a similar way, and it might affect you just the same. So guys, do me a favor, hit that like button if you enjoyed the content. Of course, subscribe to the channel. and hit that notification bell so when I go live like I do on Mondays and Fridays or come out with a new video like this, you're going to be one of the first ones to know. Let me just say, guys, sometimes when we sell on eBay, we run into glitches. It's just the name of the game. It's going to happen. It's been happening. It's going to keep happening until the end of time. And as sellers, we just have to figure out a way to navigate around these problems. But you know what? It's yet another example of how flipping ain't easy. And I want you guys to have an excellent rest of your day, and we will talk to you very soon.